You're standing on a train platform. The train is coming. And a thought arrives, uninvited, fully formed. Jump. You don't want to jump. You have no intention of jumping. You step back anyway, heart pounding, disturbed that your own mind would say such a thing. You are not broken. You are not dangerous. But the real answer to why your brain does this is far stranger than you think. It happens to almost everyone. You're holding a newborn and picture dropping it. You're chopping vegetables and see the knife slip into your hand. You're driving over a bridge and your mind whispers, "What if you just turned the wheel?" These thoughts feel like intruders. They feel like they belong to someone else. And for most of human history, nobody could explain where they came from. So let's find out. The scientific name for this is an intrusive thought. It's an unwanted, involuntary image or urge that pops into your awareness against your will. The word intrusive matters. It means the thought breaks in. You didn't build it. You didn't summon it. It arrived on its own. In 2014, a psychologist named Adrian Wells, along with researchers studying obsessive thinking, helped map how common these really are. The numbers are staggering. Study after study finds that around 90% of people experience intrusive thoughts on a regular basis. Not the disturbed, not the unwell, almost everyone. So the first thing to understand is this. If your brain has ever suggested something terrible, you are not the exception. You are the rule. But that only deepens the mystery. Why would evolution build a brain that terrifies its own owner? To answer that, you have to go back. Far back. Long before trains and knives and bridges. Back to a version of you that lived on open ground, surrounded by things that wanted to kill you. Your ancestors survived by imagining disaster before it happened. The ones who stood at the edge of a cliff and felt nothing, walked too close and fell. The ones whose minds flashed a sudden vivid image of falling, stepped back and lived. That flash of horror wasn't a malfunction. It was a warning system. Think about what a good warning system needs to do. It needs to simulate danger before danger arrives. It needs to be fast. It needs to be loud. And it needs to fire even when there's no real threat. Because a false alarm costs you a moment of fear, but a missed alarm costs you your life. So evolution tuned your brain to be paranoid on purpose. It would rather scare you 1,000 times for nothing than stay silent the one time it matters. This is the key that unlocks everything. The thought jump is not a desire. It's a simulation. Your brain is running a threat scenario, showing you the worst possible outcome so your body reacts and pulls you to safety. The step backward is the whole point. The fear is the feature. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux spent decades studying how the brain processes fear. He found that the brain has a fast, crude alarm circuit centered on a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. This circuit fires before your conscious mind even understands what's happening. It's built for speed, not accuracy. It flinches first and asks questions later. So when you stand near the edge, the ancient circuit flashes danger and your slow, thinking brain scrambles to interpret the alarm. And here is where things get strange. Your thinking brain, trying to make sense of that jolt, sometimes translates it into words, into an image, into a sentence that sounds like an instruction. Jump. But it was never an instruction. It was an alarm wearing the costume of a thought. There's even a name for the specific version that happens at heights. Researchers call it the high place phenomenon. In a 2012 study, psychologist Jennifer Hames and her colleagues surveyed hundreds of people about the sudden urge to jump from high places. What they found was profound. People who felt this urge were often not suicidal at all. In many cases, the urge to jump was actually a sign of a strong survival instinct misfiring. The brain sends such a powerful safety signal that the conscious mind, a beat too slow, misreads the rescue as a temptation. Read that again. The people gripped by the urge to jump were often those whose will to live was screaming the loudest. So the terrible thought is not evidence of a hidden monster inside you. It's the echo of a system built to keep you alive. But if that's true, why do these thoughts feel so sticky? Why do they haunt some people and barely register for others? Here's the twist. The thought itself is harmless. What matters is what you do with it. Try something. For the next 10 seconds, do not think about a white bear. Do not picture it. Do not let it into your mind. You just thought about a white bear. This is one of the most famous findings in psychology. Daniel Wegner called it ironic process theory. He discovered that the harder you try to suppress a thought, the more your brain checks to make sure the thought is gone. And every check summons the very thing you're trying to avoid. Suppression doesn't erase the thought. It feeds it. So imagine two people have the same intrusive thought, the same flash of jump, the same image of the knife slipping. The first person shrugs. Weird brain moment, they think, and move on. The thought fades and never returns with any force. The second person panics. Why would I think that? What's wrong with me? Am I dangerous? They try to shove the thought away. But the shoving is the checking, and the checking is the summoning. And now the thought comes back louder, and its return feels like proof that something is deeply wrong. Nothing is wrong. They've simply been caught in a loop. Not a loop of danger, a loop of meaning. The thought didn't grow because it was true. It grew because they treated it as important. This is the quiet engine behind a great deal of human suffering. The content of an intrusive thought is often the exact opposite of what a person values most. The gentle new parent pictures harm coming to their child. The devoutly moral person is visited by blasphemous images. The person who would never hurt a soul sees themselves doing violence. It's not random. Your brain flags what would be most catastrophic to you precisely because you would never do it. The horror you feel is the proof of your character, not the crack in it. So the thought that scares you most is often a mirror held up to what you love. Now step back into the modern world. You are surrounded by triggers your ancestors never faced. Ledges on tall buildings, knives in quiet kitchens, steering wheels on high bridges. Every one of these is a place where your ancient alarm system can fire. And unlike your ancestors, you're often alone with the thought, in silence, with time to turn it over and wonder what it means. That silence is new. That analysis is new. Your grandmother's grandmother did not sit alone and interrogate a passing image for evidence of her secret evil. She felt the jolt, stepped back, and returned to the work of staying alive. The thought hasn't changed in 10,000 years. What's changed is how much attention we're able to give it. So what do you do the next time your brain suggests something terrible? You do almost nothing. You notice it. You name it for what it is, a false alarm from an old system doing its job too well. And you let it pass through, the way a bird passes through an open window without ever making a home. You don't argue with it. You don't analyze it. You don't ask it what it means, because it doesn't mean anything. It's noise from a machine that was built to keep you breathing on the edge of a cliff 2 million years ago. The brain that frightens you is the same brain that has saved your life more times than you'll ever know. Every time you flinched from a car, caught a falling glass, stepped back from an edge without deciding to. That's the same machinery. The intrusive thought is just that machinery firing when there's no cliff, no predator, no real threat. A guardian with nothing to guard, still shouting anyway. So the next time you're standing on that platform and the thought arrives, uninvited, fully formed, you'll finally understand what it actually is. Not a desire, not a warning about who you are, just an old friend, ancient and clumsy and desperate to keep you alive, whispering the only word it has ever known. Stay back, stay safe, stay here. If you liked the video, subscribe for more.